We are back live, and for the next 52 minutes in studio, the one, the only, Jim Mars is here. And I remember, was it 4 years ago, breaking this and doing a story up on Infowars.com, and I told you I've forgotten about hundreds of these. And he goes, look at this, Alex, you know the thing going on with Mayak in Missouri, which the governor now says he backs and the feds put out. He says the feds will continue to put these out through the state level. Terrorism, what the public needs to know. And I'd forgotten how bad this was. It's actually, in many respects, worse than the Mayak. It says intelligence gathering practices, walking, biking, or driving in near potential targets. That's why they harass you anywhere. Wearing a specific valid reason may create surveillance, trial runs. It says attend, practice in or practice a spiritual indoctrination, prepare for financial or fanatical self-sacrifice. Scuba, public rallies, demonstrations, and private meetings sponsored by support groups. Posters, leaflets, websites, underground press, how do terrorists gain support's what they have here. And they go through, trained to avoid confrontations with law enforcement, and therefore can be expected to project a nice guy image. They have another area in here where they talk about, you know, they're involved in community things. They want to be involved in government. They're constitutionalist. They're into the Second Amendment. Cameras and surveillance equipment, baby formula, cigarettes, beer, wine, liquor.
And they travel with women and children.
That's right. It says they travel with women and children. I mean, it goes on and on.
And are polite to police.
It says, who are the terrorists? It says right here. In fact, we're going to put that up on screen. I have a scan of that, don't we? On the front page, down below the Texas seal, it says introduction. And it says, who are the terrorists? I guess they're public rallies and people like that. Jim Mars, good to see you. Tell us about this.
Well, this has, of course, been ongoing. This is, as you said, you had this a few years ago, and I had people send it to me. It's just absolutely incredible that the police are being trained to, I mean, there's always been a cop mentality, okay? And I understand this because for about a dozen years I was a police reporter, and this was back in the days of the old Republic, when I actually ran with the cops. I mean, it was amazing. I had a little snappy brim hat, and sometimes I actually carried my press card in my hat band. And I was good friends with the homicide detectives. They get a call on a murder, and I'd just run out there with them, and we'd go in the house, and I'd step over the blood and the stuff, and, you know, I'm right there. And then what happened is that I suppose by the early 70s, radio got in on the act, and you remember they started carrying those portable tape recorders, right? And so the next thing you know, instead of just one news reporter with a pad and pencil, now you got 5 or 6 radio reporters with tape recorders, and it wasn't very long after that before all of a sudden TV showed up, and they had handheld wind-up cameras, and then pretty soon they had light people, and then they had, you know.
You were at the Fort Worth Star-Telegram at the time.
Right. And so naturally you couldn't let 20, 30 people and all their equipment into a crime scene, so they started keeping everybody outside the house, outside the building, and you had to wait until the police public information guy came out to tell you what was going on. And today, of course, now they string that yellow tape around and push you back 12, 14, 20 blocks, and nobody can see what's truly going on. And I lived through all this. I know how it happened. I know why it happened. But
and now we have secret police under federal control. They're putting military officers as liaison publicly in every major and even small departments. And they say, you know, don't distribute these. But it's basically saying anybody and everybody's a terrorist. If you have a road almanac, if you've got a cell phone, if you're wearing blue jeans, it literally lists everybody and everything.
That's right. And says, by the way, here's a point, possession of global positioning systems. Okay, if you got a GPS, you must be a terrorist. Yeah. It's incredible, Alex. When I was a youngster, you know, back in the old days, we were taught to respect the police, and unfortunately now it's getting to be them and us and them attitude, both on the part of the public, because they have been turned into so many things that are other than what I consider legitimate law enforcement.
Well, let me just add, this is one of the public reports. Imagine how bad the secret ones are. Well, those are demonizing Ron Paul. You know, we have the secret reports, but that says what the public needs to know. We'll put it back up on screen. And I've seen some of the secret Texas reports. They're just as bad as this one out of Missouri.
And let me tell you something. This goes back several years, but I broke a story while I was at the Star-Telegram about a airline pilot who had gone to a Dallas City Council meeting and had simply got up and asked some questions about the new proposed Comanche Peak power plant, and a DPS undercover agent had gone back, filed a report, and checked it as subversive. And then they sent this report to the pilot's employer. Luckily for him, his employer happened to be a friend. He said, look at this. They've got you down as a subversive.
Well, it's come out that pro-life groups, bike riding groups, anti-death penalty groups, they have state police in them trying to get them to carry out violence. I mean, mainline, now they have Army intelligence spying on the people.
Right.
This is the opposite of what a free society is.
Absolutely. And now that you mentioned these agents provocateur, I want to tell everybody that's listening to your show, if you're in any kind of group and somebody starts acting up and says, let's go beat up somebody or let's throw rocks through here, grab those people and get them out of there, because violence that's exactly what they want. They want violence so that they can instill martial law.
You're absolutely right. I want to get back into this report later. But right now, you've got some breaking news from mainline UN documents about who's really calling the shots and running things. Let's go ahead and get into that right now.
Well, I just want everybody to be aware because, as you know, I kind of operate on a macro, global political thing. I want to know who's really running the show. And then we hear now that Obama's in, and now we're in for change. But I think we need to look at the remarks of his national security advisor, General James L. Jones, who last month was at the 45th Munich Security Conference in Germany. And they had honored Henry Kissinger. And, of course, we all remember Henry Kissinger, Secretary of State under Nixon, and the guy who's responsible for our foreign policy that's gotten us in the mess we're in right now. Also a man who is wanted in several countries for war crimes and can't even go into those countries because there are warrants out for his arrest. So I think that your listeners need to understand when I tell you that the remarks by James L. Jones to the Munich Security Conference open with this. Thank you for that wonderful tribute to Henry Kissinger yesterday. Congratulations. As the most recent National Security Advisor of the United States, now listen carefully, I take my daily orders from Dr. Kissinger, filtered down through General Brent Snowcroft and Sandy Berger, who is also here. We have a chain of command in the National Security Council that exists today. And I ask you, so where's the change? Obama's National Security Advisor takes his daily orders from Henry Kissinger. Where's the change?
Well, I mean, the Pope is advised by Kissinger because he works for the Rothschilds and Rockefellers publicly.
Exactly.
And he gets up on MSNBC, it's in the Obama Deception, and says Obama's going to sell the world on a new world order, a global banking elite, where we pay our carbon taxes to them. And there's no change. It doesn't matter who comes into office. You've got these imperial legates like Henry Kissinger who are really running the shots, and Zbigniew Brzezinski. Go over again the provenance of that, where you got that specifically, where folks can find it.
I pointed this out, and specifically the line he says, I take my daily orders from Henry Kissinger. This is Barack Obama's national security advisor, okay? And people said, oh, well, where'd that come from? That can't be true. So, somebody that can't, Folks, it's right off the Council on Foreign Relations website.
This is from the CFR.
Yeah, if you up at the top, if you want to show that.
Give me a close shot on this camera. We'll go on this camera right here.
Just go to the Council on Foreign Relations website. The gloves are coming off, Alex. They don't care who knows now.
And why do you think that is?
Well, because ever since their inception back in 1921-22, they've moved very, very surreptitiously, very deceitfully, keeping everything under wraps. But beginning with the assassination of President Kennedy and with the control they had over Lyndon Johnson and then over Richard Nixon, who was put into politics with Nazi money, they have slowly grown in their power and in their control to the point to where now they don't really care what you know. Their attitude now is almost, we're in charge. What are you going to do about it?
That's right. This is from the Council on Foreign Relations, CFR.org. You can just Google remarks by National Security Advisor Jones at 45th Munich Conference. In fact, we'll get that up on screen right now. Remarks by National Security Advisor Jones at 45th Munich Conference. on security policy, when you read even the public CFR stuff and Trilateral Commission stuff, they said in the 70s they were going to bankrupt the world economy, bring in a global currency. And we're here warning people, and so we get put in terrorism reports because we go to the CFR and say, oh, look what's going on. When all we do is cover the facts here of the bankers raping everybody.
Basically, Alex, you and I are simply reporters. The real terrorists are the people who are actually implementing these policies.
Absolutely. I mean, this is so important. Read that again to people. I mean, that is powerful, Jim, that you brought in.
The day before, they had honored Henry Kissinger at the 45th Munich conference, and so the next day at the Hotel Bayerscherhof on February the 8th, 2009, Barack Obama's newly named National Security Advisor, General James L. Jones, gets up and he says, "Thank you for that wonderful tribute to Henry Kissinger yesterday. Congratulations. As the most recent National Security Advisor of the United States, I take my daily orders from Dr. Kissinger, filtered down through General Brent Snowcroft and Sandy Berger, who's also here. We have a chain of command in the National Security Council that exists today."